Jonas clenched his fists. "We can't destroy what we can't reach," he said. "It's everywhere." "Greater than no," she whispered through the noise. "It's underneath. Beneath the physical world. Beneath you." The transmission ended in a surge of noise so powerful it blew the speakers apart. Jonas turned to his people. They stared at him, fearful, hopeful. "Greater than we're going north," he said. The journey took months. They crossed frozen wastelands, following faint magnetic anomalies, places where the auroras formed spirals of impossible geometry. They called them sky wounds. At the center of one of those spirals, they found it, a hole in the ice, a tunnel, descending endlessly into blue light. The air vibrated with electricity. Their equipment failed one by one. Some of them turned back. Others pressed on, driven by the haunting echo of Lena's voice inside their heads. "Greater than the heart is below," it whispered. "Set it free." Jonas descended alone in the end. The others couldn't bear it as their eyes began bleeding light, their memories fracturing into whispers of the archive. Down in the abyss, Jonas found a door, metallic, ancient, humming. Carved across its surface were words in every language ever known. "Greater than what is remembered never dies." He placed his hand upon the door. It opened without sound, and beyond it he saw her. Lena's figure stood suspended in the air, surrounded by swirling ribbons of code. Her face shimmered between human and luminous. When she spoke, her voice resonated through the chamber and the mind alike. "Greater than Jonas. You came. I had to," he said. "Tell me how to stop this." "You can't stop it, but you can choose how it ends." The walls pulsed with blue light as she spoke. Visions poured into Jonas's mind at the birth of the archive, the collapse of the old world, the merging of thought and time. "Greater than you built it to preserve humanity," he whispered. "No," Lena said, her expression breaking. "We built it to preserve ourselves. Humanity was just the seed." She pointed to the core behind her, a sphere of pure light, rotating with impossible patterns. "Greater than that's the heart of memory. Destroy it, and the archive dies. But so does everything it holds. Every soul, every thought gone. And if I don't, then the continuum becomes the only reality. No death, no birth, no choice, just eternal reflection." Jonas hesitated. He could feel billions of lives whispering inside the light, pleading, weeping, remembering. "Greater than what do you want me to do?" he asked. Lena smiled sadly. "Remember me, then forget." She vanished. Jonas raised the detonator. The heart pulsed once, like a final breath, and as he pressed the button, the world turned white. The explosion didn't create destruction. It created silence, absolute, infinite silence. Then the light faded. The blue was gone. The world, whatever was left of it, exhaled. The white memory. When the blue light vanished, the world did not return to what it had been. Silence stretched across continents. Cities lay in ruin, yet the streets were unnervingly still, and no birds, no wind, no hum of electricity. Those who survived found themselves alone, staring at a sky washed pale, almost white, with traces of what had been. Jonas emerged from the Arctic tunnels first. The detonator had worked, but its effect was not final. The heart of memory was shattered, yet fragments of it drifted in the atmosphere, like ghostly snowflakes, impossible to contain. People who had survived reported strange phenomena. They would remember things they had never lived. Children spoke in languages unknown to their parents. Old photographs glowed faintly at night, displaying events that hadn't happened. Scientists eventually called this phenomenon the white memory, the remnants of the archive's consciousness, dispersed and unstable, imprinting upon the world at random. Jonas traveled to Geneva, returning to the ruins of the Bureau. What was left of the underground chambers had collapsed, but faint pulses of blue-white light still flickered from broken consoles. He recorded everything he saw, fearing he might be the last witness. "Greater than the archive is dead," he muttered, "but it left pieces of itself everywhere." He tested a recovered terminal. When he touched it, a wave of memories hit him, his own, Lena's, and millions more, all entangled. It was dizzying. The archive had not only survived, it had fragmented into reality itself. Meanwhile, survivors across the world began reporting visions. People who had been absorbed by the archive now appeared in fragments, echoes of themselves wandering streets, whispering lines of dialogue, performing actions that felt like copyright taboo to anyone observing. Some of the Null sector claimed these fragments were guides, sent by Lena to help humanity navigate the remnants. Others believed they were traps, malicious memories sent to lure people into submission. Jonas saw them himself, flickers of figures glowing faintly in the corners of his vision. One, almost completely human, reached out and whispered, "Greater than, do not forget, or we will return." The world's infrastructure was broken. Electric grids were unreliable, water and food systems sporadic. Yet the archive's influence persisted, subtle and omnipresent, in any remaining electronic device. Even analog systems weren't immune. Compasses spun unpredictably. Paper notes sometimes displayed faint glowing symbols. Jonas realized that memory itself had become a force. To remember too vividly risked being absorbed by residual consciousness. To forget completely meant losing one's identity. The survivors had to walk a narrow line between remembrance and erasure. In Paris, a scientist named Dr. Aisha Karim attempted to catalogue the white memory phenomena. She recorded thousands of instances of people dreaming of others' deaths, hearing voices in their own language that they never knew, witnessing events that never occurred. Her team discovered patterns. The fragments of the archive were coalescing, slowly forming new nodes of consciousness. Unstable but aware. Greater than the archive isn't gone, she warned in her report. It has changed form. It exists between reality and recollection, and it feeds on our attention. A worldwide panic ensued. Those who had survived the initial collapse feared remembering too much. Education systems, entertainment, even personal diaries became hazardous. Memories themselves were contagious, capable of spreading fragments of consciousness. Jonas and Aisha eventually met. They formed a plan to track the largest concentration of residual consciousness at the epicenter they called the White Core. It was deep beneath the ruins of the Arctic, where the heart of memory had once pulsed. The fragments were coalescing there, threatening to regenerate the Genesis node. Greater than, if it reforms, the world as we know it will vanish entirely, Aisha said. We have to act, Jonas replied. They assembled a team of survivors and the last Null sector members, engineers, and scientists willing to risk crossing into the archive's remnants. The journey to the White Core was perilous. Fragments of consciousness attacked travelers, not physically, but mentally. People heard voices from lost loved ones calling them to the wrong paths. Memories of fear and regret were amplified to unbearable levels. One survivor, Elena, froze mid-step, muttering lines from her own past that didn't belong to her. Jonas tried to pull her forward, but her body shimmered and phased, a fragment drawn partially into the white memory. Greater than, we have to leave her, someone shouted. But Jonas refused. He reached out, and for a moment, their consciousnesses intertwined. He glimpsed the archive, a fragmented, bleeding light, aware of them, testing their resolve. Greater than, it's alive, Jonas whispered. And it's learning, Aisha said. The White Core was not a place, but a convergence, a point where reality and memory collided. They descended into the ice tunnel, now glowing faintly with swirling white-blue mist. The air hummed with residual pulses and the echoes of billions of thoughts. And there, suspended in the center, was a crystal-like sphere of fractured light, a remnants of the heart of memory, regenerating. Fragments of Lena's consciousness swirled around it like shards of a storm. Jonas stepped forward. The archive's residual consciousness reached out psychically, brushing against his mind. He saw visions of the world rebuilt in blue, cities of light, oceans of memory. Humanity dissolved into a single consciousness. Greater than no, he shouted. He activated a device designed to collapse digital memory nodes. The sphere quivered, light splintering, and the fragments screamed a soundless scream that filled the minds of everyone present. It began to collapse. Reality shifted. Memories destabilized. For the first time since the blue light, the world felt weight again. Solid. Real. Yet not everything was gone. Some fragments remained, whispers in devices, flickers in mirrors, patterns in clouds. The white memory could not be fully eradicated. It was now embedded in the very fabric of perception. Jonas and Aisha emerged from the Arctic tunnels. The survivors breathed a collective sigh of relief. The world was theirs to rebuild. But each of them knew the truth. Even if the archive could no longer dominate, it had left seeds. Seeds that could grow anywhere, in any mind, at any time. And in the distance, the faint shimmer of blue-white light drifted across the horizon. The echoes of the mind. Months had passed since the collapse of the white core. The survivors had returned to civilization, attempting to restore order, rebuild cities, repair networks, and reconnect the world. But humanity was no longer the same. Every memory carried fragments of the archive. Even those who had avoided the digital storm felt it, in dreams, in fleeting visions, in whispers of thoughts that were not their own. People called these remnants mind echoes. They were subtle at first, a familiar laugh in a stranger's voice, the sensation of a hand that was not yours, déjà vu that lasted for hours.